Watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Today's program will be the best of the 70s and 80s. Hope you enjoy it.
Then we're going to be joined by Leonard George and Willie Jackson Sr. and also Wayne Fields and Melvin FLOURNOY.
We're joined by College Football Hall of Famer
Wayne Fields and Melvin FLOURNOY.
We're joined by College Football Hall of Famer, all-time Gator great, Wes Chandler. We're going to be joined by College Football Hall of Famer, Carlos Alvarez.
My name is Wayne Fields. I'm a letterman from the University of Florida football program, lettered from 1972 to 1975. And I now have the distinction of introducing the two first African-American players to play at the University of Florida, Leonard George and Willie Jackson. And we also have with us Melvin FLOURNOY. And we are here today asking for the support to tell you all about an endowment that has been established in Leonard George and Willie Jackson's name that will go toward a scholarship for the University of Florida for a football player. And we thank for all of the Gator fans that are out there. We'd like to thank you all first for watching this show, and thank, of course, Shane for giving us the opportunity to come on and talk about these two gentlemen who the endowment has been named after, and that's Willie Jackson and Leonard George. Guys, how you doing today?
Good, Wayne. Good to see you.
Oh, same here as well. Willie, we'll start with you. You came here in 1969, as well as Leonard, the same time, and you guys got an opportunity to come to a university where there were no other African-American football players. What prepared you, Willie, most of all for coming to the university before you arrived here?
Well, I was prepared because of the fact that I was familiar with playing with white kids, because in Sarasota, we only had one black school, and at 66, we integrated. And we had to go to one of the white schools, one of the white schools they had there, and I went to Sarasota High. And I guess it struck up some interest from some of the white alumni from the University of Florida that saw me play at Sarasota. But then again, because of the fact that I turned 19 before my senior year, I couldn't play my senior year at high school, so they sent me to a prep school. I went to prep school, and that was out of the state. It was at Valley Forge Military Academy in Wayne, Pennsylvania. And so I think this is one of the reasons that helped prepare me for the University of Florida, because of the fact that I left home and I was away from all my surroundings and stuff like that. And I learned how to get along. So that was really one of the main reasons why I think that I would go to the University of Florida, because it didn't I didn't have any prejudice and so forth, because the white that I was associated with, they seemed like just one of the guys. They wanted the best for me. So that was one of the reasons why I think I fitted in well, and I was prepared to go to a major white school.
Leonard, the same question, if you don't mind answering that. Leonard George, you come out of the St. Pete, Tampa area, and you came to the University of Florida also along with Willie. What prepared you to be able to be successful?
I don't think anything you can really do or say can compare you what you're going to have to deal with, because at this time, you don't know what you have to deal with. But I came back, I was in Tampa, and I went to Jesuit High School. And I started there in 1965. They had only integrated Jesuit High School in 1963. And so when I got there, there was only 3 of them, one admitted in 1963 and another one of the other ones in 1964. And so in 1965, this was at the beginning of, I guess, the integration in the South part of it. And so when I was over there, I was on only one black on the team. We had ones on there, but they were not on the field. So I had come from a all white private school. And so we, as a team, that was the thing that made a difference, because, you know, being able to relate to them and have them relate to me. So the one thing we wanted to do was win a championship, which we were able to do in 1968.
Wow.
And so that really made a big difference, because I was coming from one environment and going back to going to the University of Florida was just, you know, similar in the sense that we had to deal with a lot of, you know, white teammates, but it was not the only thing we had to deal with, because I remember in 1967, when we played for a semi final of the state championship, we had to go into Lake City. Do you know where it is?
Yes, Columbia County. Absolutely.
Man, that place was going to Alabama or Mississippi at that time.
Right.
Because I tell you, when I was on the field, I was the only black on the field, and probably the only one. No, I don't think it was any blacks in the stadium, because at that time, you know, everything was, segregated. So I went up there, and you can imagine all the flags and all the language, that they was used. And so the thing is, it was my coach, Bill Monahan, and also my teammates that, you know, surrounded me, make sure that I didn't have any problem. But what happened is they sent somebody in the game, you know, to get me out. He started a fight with me, trying to pound me out on the field.
Wow.
And so I was trying to get him off of me and having all this on. And can you imagine what the people in the stand were going through? Because, okay, you got this black over there, and he's fighting against one of my, even though he started it, but that wouldn't make any difference, because, of course, all they see is, and so what happened, we both got put out of the game.
Right.
So if you realize that this is the kind of stuff you're going to have to, put up with, come
that help prepare you, in other words.
Florida,
right?
But
that happened in high school.
To make you ready, that would.
Right. I want to go to Melvin Flournoy to let everyone know, and if he'll tell everyone exactly why we are here, in addition to making sure that Leonard George and Willie Jackson gets the recognition as being the first two. But an endowment is in their name, and that's why we're here today, to tell the listening audience and those who watch Shane Matthews Podding Up in the Morning exactly why we're here today. Melvin.
How you doing, Wayne and Leonard and Willie, and the audience, people in the audience? One of the things that you need to realize, that this is an endowment that is a very unique endowment. This is funded by former players and fans who are thankful that we have had the honor of knowing Willie and Leonard. This is the whole idea. This is a tribute to them. The scholarship is secondary. What we're trying to do is raise about $250,000, which is going to fund probably a scholarship of about $10,000 to $20,000 a year. So that's our goal, and we're going to do it multiple ways. Number one, we're going to raise the $50,000 amount, which will allow us to name the endowment in their names. So we're going to get the $50,000 pretty soon. We've raised half of that in about a month time, Wayne. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so we are asking for people to make sacrifices. If you can make a large sacrifice, please make a large sacrifice. If you can make a small sacrifice, please make whatever you can do. We ask you to do. The way the to fund this scholarship or to help us fund the scholarship is make a contribution to the Gator Boosters. The Gator Boosters telephone number that you need to call is 352-692-6023. Again, it's 692-6023. That is a direct line to Miss Garrett. She works in the Gator Booster Club, and she will tell you exactly what you need to do to make a contribution. You can make monthly contributions, or you can make a one-time contribution. I'm not going to get into the website because the website is about 2 sentences long, and most of us aren't going to write it down. But if you remember this number, 352-692-6023. Everyone who makes a contribution will have their name on a plaque. At some point in time, we'll recognize everyone. The names will be placed on that plaque in a manner that does not reflect how much money you gave. It just reflects that you did give. The whole idea of this endowment is to honor two trailblazers, two legacy players that we have had the honor of knowing and have had the honor of benefiting from. And so we want to do something big, and we appreciate any assistance you may be able to give us. The contributions are all tax deductible too. Okay, they're tax deductible. Absolutely. And they go directly to the Boost Club.
That was an excellent instruction on exactly how to make a contribution. As Melvin said, there's no contribution that is too small. There are contributions that you could make to where you can pay monthly, or you can make contributions by making sure you call the Boosters Association. That's Garrett Bell. If someone needs the name that you can call and ask for, always you can call Phil Farr, who's head of the Boosters for the University of Florida. Those names, then the number as well is a good number. Willie, you have the distinction, as many other families do, like the McGriff family, like other families, the Gaffney family, that had numerous players from their family attend the University of Florida, but you have two sons who actually have played. What was that like? And that had to be very satisfying to you.
Yes, it was very exhilarating, and because of the fact that, this is what you always want for them, but then again, you don't try to put no pressure on them for them to try to go do the same things you've done. And when they do it, then like you say, that's a very, very exciting thing to have. And like I said, both wore the same number. We all wore the same number, 22.
Terry Jackson, Willie Jackson Jr.
Wore the same number, 22. And they both went on to play professional ball. So that was very, very, very good. So like you say, it's a family affair. You wanted to keep it going. And that's, just something that you always want for your family.
And you also now have a grandson.
Yes,
who's a walk-on at the university, but maybe he can get a scholarship in his granddad's name.
Hopefully, this is one of the things that we can have come out of this thing that's going to be really, really good. Because the fact that you say, if it's good enough for me to bring somebody else in, it should be good enough for me to bring my own. So again, this is an opportunity for me to say, hey, what about him? Whether he's as good as the others, or maybe I know he'd be able to hold his own. So give him an opportunity, give him a chance.
We all
had an opportunity. We all had a chance. Like I said, right. Most of the players, that's black players that went to University of Florida, had to start at the bottom. Like, was it a walk on, or then again they had to try to prove themselves and so forth and so on, until lately, they just go get the number one guys now. But back in the day, you just had to come in and just work your butt off just get there. And that's what most has done. So it's a great opportunity. And like I say, it's very, very exciting and motivating to say that, like you had someone, you had your kids to do the same thing, and they're doing something good.
Willie Jackson, Leonard George, the endowment is in their name. We are raising money and asking for the listeners and viewers of Shane PodUp in the Mornings. We would absolutely encourage you to participate if you're a Gator fan, if you're a former player. Be sure to access the numbers that we're asking Shane to put up on the screen when they put this together. And please, if you would, donate to the cause. The endowment is for the Florida Gators, and it's in the name of Willie Jackson and Leonard George. Willie, if you had to identify your most memorable moment being a Gator, tell us about that moment.
Most memorable is, I would say, going to the University of Florida and being able to go and play on the football field, play on the team, and get out there and see all the fans in the stadium. Once you get there and see all the fans out there and say, "Oh, this is this is what came to do. This is what I came to see." And I would say this is one of the most exciting things there, to be out there on the field and also to get a chance to, just as a football, but just at the University of Florida itself, it's just getting to meet the few that was there. Going to Tiger Hall and stuff, and waiting on the outside and class ends, so you can see who was there and where they're from and so forth and so on. So that was really exciting to know that we had some other Black students there on campus. And like I said, back in the day, it was very few. It's like I said, when you saw them, you wanted to get to know them and find out what we can do to get together. So that was exciting. But like I said, the most exciting thing was to be able to get on the field, play football, and just having fun. That's what it was all about.
Leonard, you and Willie came in together, and you also had the blessing and the honor and distinction to graduate together. What was that honor like, graduating from the University of Florida?
It was something, I can tell you, because after all the things we had been through, actually trying to balance all of these stuff, the social issues, the war, trying to make the team, work on your grades and all of that stuff, and we are caught between two worlds. Where we're at the beginning of one world and we're trying to go into a new world. And so it's something that when we went through all of this together, all the drama that we had to deal with, all the people that did not want us there. I'm not talking about for people that we knew, but I'm talking about other people that they didn't want us there. So when you look at it, because when we signed in 1968, the university had only started integrating in 1958. So it was only 10 years before, we signed that they at first admitted any Black students. Even so, that was the thing. When you think about that we only was 10 years out. And so it was, I think, very important for me and Willie to not only to try to blaze a trail, but to do it in the classroom where we will get a chance to get our degree, because that would be the most lasting thing for somebody else coming on to say, well, can you play football? That's good. Can you handle the pressure? Okay, that's good. But can you get your degree? So when we got that and we got on the field, if you don't mind, I'll show the photograph of me, Willie, on the field, for the field. Nobody's in the sand, like usual. And that was the day that me and him got our degrees. And that was the most memorable thing I can think of, because we came there together. We got my thing together, and we got our degrees together. And I would say this is a moment that should inspire somebody that's want to come after us. Get it done.
Yes.
Wayne, what's that end zone is that? That's facing the north end zone. That's amazing.
I have no idea.
It's the north end zone.
That was a long time ago.
When you first told us about that story about you and Willie getting your degree, I mean, that was one of the most inspiring things I've ever heard. It was just amazing.
Yeah, that was good.
Absolutely. And Willie Jackson, Leonard George, the endowment is in their name. We're here asking that we get support from the viewers of the Shane Matthews PodUp in the Morning. Thank you so much, guys. So thank you so much, Shane. Thank you, Leonard. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, Melvin. Thank you, the Freddie Wiebe Corporation, and we appreciate all your help.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
We'll be joined by one of the greatest to ever wear a Gator uniform, Wes Chandler. Good morning, Wes. How are you?
Good morning. Pleasure to be here with you, Shane.
Absolutely. Well, when I bring the former players on, I like to go back to their younger days when they were youngsters growing up. I'm sure you were a 3-sport or 4-sport athlete growing up. And then when you decided to play college football, besides the Florida Gators, what other schools did you have on your radar?
I had a lot of schools on my radar. My high school football coach would not let me get to them. As a matter of fact, you know how those letters come in to you. He kept those letters away from me, and he understood my condition, growing up back then, segregation, integration. I was close to family and that village to raise a child. Everybody wanted to see me in an area in which they could come see me play as my future went along in terms of college football. And so him understanding that and being my high school football coach, he knew the lay of the land in the community in terms of what may be best for me, not in terms of education, but in terms of the community being supportive of me. So therefore, his relationships around the state and globally, actually, he had been an NFL executive before, understood it. So therefore, he narrowed it down to states and schools close to New Smyrna Beach. And Florida happened to be, tops on his radar after I was turned down from Bethune-Cookman College.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. So Doug Dickey was the head coach, I believe, when you signed with the Gators. And I want to say, I grew up in Mississippi, so I wasn't a Florida Gator till I came here. But, I've been told by many people, because I've said ever since I became a Gator in '88, the most dominant player I ever saw with the ball in his hands in a football game was Percy Harvin. And these old guys were like, whoa, wait a second. We had this guy named Wes Chandler that was pretty damn good. And all I think of is Wes Chandler watching you play as a New Orleans Saint, because I was a young kid. The Saints were my team. But you played in like the wishbone. But so were you considered a wide receiver, running back, or what at Florida back in those days?
It's ironic. I was recruited as a wide receiver. My freshman year, I played behind Lee McGriff, who was fantastic. I learned a lot from Lee as a freshman. I did play as a freshman. I was not redshirted. We were running the wishbone, of course, with DeBose and those guys. And my sophomore year, we started to try and get away from it a little bit, two back But then because we had more backs than we had quality receivers, they went back to the wishbone. Didn't last long. We were wishbone offense. And I did okay as a sophomore. My junior year, Jimmy Kynes threw the ball, Jimmy Fisher rather, threw the ball extremely well. And I had a great year that year, unbelievable, despite being in the wishbone. Only caught 44 balls. But, you know, the productivity was good. It was great. Then my senior year, there's Chris Collinsworth as a freshman, Terry LeCount as a senior. Those were our quarterbacks who would eventually go on to be NFL wide receivers themselves, but they were high school quarterbacks, right? And so it just got to a point where on the collegiate level, here I am my senior year, coming off an All-American year as a junior. Coach Dickey said, well, we just can't get the ball to you. Nothing against, you know, those two guys, but we just can't get the ball to you. We're in a wishbone attack. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing. And I said, what's that? He said, I'm going to ask you to go back to your high school days. We can't throw it to you. We're going to hand it to you. So having been a high school running back, I joined Tony Green and Earl Carr, Willie Wilder in the backfield. So I spent the last 6 or 7 games of the season, my senior year of all years, as a collegiate running back.
You know, we have this Ring of Honor, I think that's what we call it, where we only have, I think, 5 or 6 guys in it. The criteria is so small. Only a certain guys, I think, yourself being in the College Football Hall of Fame, Carlos Alvarez, and Lomas Brown are like the only 3 guys that have a chance to go in to that Ring of Honor. Should happen. Is it anything you think about?
No, I you know, I've been asked that a lot, and you know, I have different measures of it. Having played, you know, professionally, you know, all professional NFL franchises have rings of honor, and their rings of honor are contributed. It's based on your contribution to that franchise. It's not anything outside of that franchise, where the criteria for Florida's Ring of Honor also includes your NFL career.
Yeah, makes no sense.
So that in my mind, while I don't lose any sleep on it, it does not make any sense to me. And the ultimate, just like the National Football League, the ultimate goal that you can reach for a NFL franchise is being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. That's the best that you can ever represent that franchise. So therefore, naturally, you would be in the Ring of Honor. So being in the College Football Hall of Fame for representing the Florida Gators, yet not in that Ring of Honor, which one has the most prestige?
College Football Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. And that's the point. So if you can make the College Football Hall of Fame, yet not be in the Ring of Honor, there's something wrong with that. And I think the criteria, you know, but like I said, I won't lose any sleep on that.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, though. So you get drafted by the New Orleans Saints, my team. Like I said, growing up in Mississippi, the Saints were my team. My dad was a teammate of Archie at Ole Miss. So the Saints back in those days weren't very good. So let me ask you this question. Did you enjoy playing for the Saints more or the Chargers?
I enjoyed the first couple years in New Orleans. By the way, when I used to drive back and forth from New Orleans back to New Smyrna Beach, we used to drive directly through Pascagoula.
Yeah.
Because I-10 didn't go all the way through at that time.
Interesting.
So we would come directly through. And a lot of people don't know that you had to take that little side for about 20 to 30 miles and get back on I-10 because it wasn't completely built through. But in terms of being at New Orleans, he used to bring a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old to practice. And so I would play with these cars called Hot Wheels, right? Back in the day, you put the tracks everywhere and all of a sudden the locker room would get quiet. Everybody's outside. I'm the only guy in the locker room and I'm playing with a 3 and a 4-year-old. Lo and behold, I walk outside and everybody's clapping and here we go again, right? This is like the 3rd time you've been late for practice. The 3-year-old happens to be Peyton Manning. So, that was part of the entertainment and sort of the highlight of my career playing in New Orleans for the first 3 years was the fact that Archie Manning was a great quarterback. I enjoyed playing with him. I enjoyed the camaraderie with his kids at that time, not knowing what Peyton would go on to become. And I just loved New Orleans. It was in the South again. It was an opportunity for friends and family to come see me play. They could drive, not have to necessarily fly. But then the days of San Diego, I was first told when I was traded, we play catch. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a wide receiver. I enjoy playing catch. And the assistant general manager at the time, he said, he flew down to New Orleans to get me. We flew back on a flight together as if I was not going to complete this trade, right? And he said, yeah, we play catch. We put the ball in the air. Mind you now, I was about 215 pounds at the time because we ran the ball a lot in New Orleans, having Chuck Muncie and Tony Galbraith at running backs. But I loved our offense. We were able to accomplish some things. I was leading the league and receiving. So I was really kind of upset about accepting the trade and listening to my attorney. He said, your career will relaunch when you get to San Diego.
So go ahead.
So I'm sorry. When I got to San Diego, the first day on the football field, we threw the ball the first 15 plays, and then we ran a draw play to Chuck Muncie, who had been traded to me the year before. And he said that'll keep them honest. That was Don Coryell. So I had a chance to play with 3 Hall of Famers, Dan Fouts, Charlie Joyner, Kellen Winslow. But the offensive line was unbelievable. And when you think about the running backs outside of Chuck Muncie, later in that offense was Gary Anderson, who was unbelievable with the Bandits, Lionel Little Train James, who played at Auburn University, who was really good, Buford McGee out of Mississippi as well. So we had a lot of great backs. We had a lot of offensive firepower. We had one ball and we had to learn how to play with one another. So playing with Dan Fouts, it actually increased from leaving New Orleans. And then my last year was San Francisco. And by then it was year 11, 12. And I just got into a point where it wasn't fun anymore, but I had the pleasure of playing that brief stay with Joe Montana and Steve Young as quarterback. So I would think that my career, having touched some of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played the game.
There's no question about that. And it's almost like Eric Coryell, that offense kind of changed. Well, back in those days, the NFL wasn't throwing it as much as the Chargers were. And y'all kind of changed the outlook of the NFL, right?
Yeah, innovated it. Ernie Zampese was the mastermind behind Don Coryell's offense. And it didn't matter who you were. We were a number system. So basically the number system just told you went from the first receiver to the you were the single receiver to the double receiver. And that's how we ran our offense. Okay. So it was easy for you to learn the offense because you got a number. If you were the X, you got the first number. If you were the tight end or the second receiver, you got the second number. Z was the last. We told the F and the H what to do. 989 F cross H sneak. How easy is that? So, it was really simple. So we just put people in different positions and created mismatches.
Before I let you go, let the Gator Nation know what Wes Chandler is up to these days. I know you got some developmental leagues going on, something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm the CEO of a developmental league, but it will be a global league. It's called AFX, Action Fun Extreme. It'll be played globally, not here in the U.S. It's an arena league football that has a huge entertainment segment to it. It's like saying that a concert happened and a football game broke out because it is arena football. We're trying to, because there are in excess of 100 non-U.S. born NFL players that have played the game, yet the development of players globally is not happening. And the National Football League is the only of the major sports that don't have any international development at all. So that's what I'm doing there. And the caveat to all of that is the fact that I have a company called WCTE, which is a biopharmaceutical company aimed at addressing chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, and TBI, traumatic brain injury, because the most common traumatic brain injury is concussion. And we know the characteristics of concussion, from memory loss to depression. And so a lot of these things have affected players that we know on the collegiate level and on the professional level, and some are not with us today because of the epidemics that come from concussions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, and including CTE, where they have the brain injuries, and from these brain injuries, they unfortunately take their lives.
Yeah, it's a scary situation. Great stuff that you're doing. I appreciate you taking the time to join our program. Hopefully one day we'll see Wes Chandler up in that ring honor. It makes no sense. I agree 100% with you, my man. But one of the greatest Gators of all time joining us. Appreciate it. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon, Wes.
Thank you much, Saint. I appreciate you having me here, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future.
Absolutely. That's Wes Chandler joining us on the Titan More Hotline. We're going to take our final time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap up this edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us. We're now going to go to the Titan More Hotline, and we're joined by College Football Hall of Famer, one of the, actually probably the best receiver to ever play at the University of Florida, Carlos Alvarez. Good morning, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing great, Shane. How about yourself?
Can't complain. We had you on this summer, I believe, kind of told your life story, and then all of a sudden they're going to have an SEC storied about Carlos Alvarez. How'd that all come about?
Well, I was approached about it 2 years ago by Gaspar Gonzalez, who is the director and producer. And he happens to be a University of Florida graduate and knew about me. He, I think, went to University of Florida in the early 80s. And he knew about me, and he had done a number of documentaries and thought that this would be worth doing. And then he talked me into it, because I was a bit hesitant at first for, really for the reason that you go back and you do the memory of everything that happened back then. There are a lot of good spots, mostly good. There's a few bumps in the road kind of thing. And the emotional roller coaster, I didn't know if I wanted to go through it, but it's been a wonderful experience with him. A person that really works hard at his craft and has done a really, what I have not seen the documentary. I'm going to see it when everybody else sees it.
Oh, wow.
But I'm very happy with the work he has done. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: how much filming currently did you have to do for the series?
They came to my house, to my farm here in Tallahassee, and filmed for about 6-7 hours. Just interviewing me about all kinds of things, and then we also did an interview at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. He had some filming to be done up there, so we did that. Did some interviews up there. And then we went to Gainesville, and I forget whether we did any interviews in Gainesville. Well, we did actually. We went to Gainesville twice. One is for the reunion of the '69 team last year, so that he was able to film that reunion, and that was very, very nice. I was on the field. I was there with Willie Jackson and Leonard George and Fred Abbott, and of course the rest of we were on the field, but the rest of my '69 team was up in the stands, and he was able to go to the celebrations the night before, and then the tailgating afterwards. And then I went there with him just alone to University of Florida to watch archival films, which I didn't know the university had. So that was a lot of fun, as I could guide him. We couldn't find a lot of things because they were not there, but it was a lot of fun going through that.
So, did they go back to your childhood days where you came across to Miami and all that good stuff? Is that all in there?
Yes, I think it is. Like I said, I have not seen it, but he went all the way back. And really, the story is basically this: is my coming to the United States, my family coming to the United States. I came here when I was 10, a year and a half after Castro came. And my search to be an American. And I saw football as my gateway to be an American. And then going to University of Florida, and what happened there, which to me was unexpected, which was kind of good. I'll talk about that in just a second, was kind of good. But the struggles to get there, and actually then, what happened at the University of Florida, and then just because of the timing of the whole thing, it was a tumultuous time in America. And there were protests, certainly the Vietnam War, racial injustice, things like that I got involved in. So, and I got involved, I tried to put together an athletes union, which that's also, I think, part of the film. And so all of that is part of the story, but it's really my drive to become an American, and knowing that football was my ticket. And, I didn't realize that until many years later when I actually wrote a draft of a book that actually has the same name. They took the name of it, my draft of the book, for the documentary. But I realized that really that was my drive. It was to become an American. And that's how come really you don't see a lot of Cuban Americans playing football.
Right,
I mean, it's not the sport, but to me, it meant the world. And one of the things that I was telling you I was going to come back to is the fact that when I went to University of Florida, I was a running back in high school. When I went to University of Florida, I thought I wasn't going to make the team. And so what I said to myself is, I may not make this team, but I will never, ever look back and say, if I had done X, I would have made the team. So I worked out. I caught passes from anybody who wanted to throw the ball to me. I did everything, not knowing what the standard was. And it was only when I got to the first practice, and of course I had the gift of John Reeves. When I got to that first practice where I realized I can compete. But until then, I had no idea whether I could compete or not. And I think that is actually a real benefit, to not know how far you can go in something. Just know that you can put it all out there. You don't never want to have a regret that I didn't do enough.
No doubt about it. It's a tremendous story, no doubt. I don't know how much college football you watch these days, Carlos, but it's amazing all the records that you still hold at the University of Florida with all the great receivers that we've had come through here. And back in your era, you didn't throw the football that much. Now, like I said, I don't know how much college football you watch, but if a kid, back in our day threw for 230, 250 yards, that was unbelievable. If you threw for 300 yards, you're setting school records. Well, it seems like every college quarterback that suits up on Saturdays throws for over 300 yards now. Would you love to be playing in today's modern college football as a wide receiver?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every time I watch it, I think of how much fun it would be to play. Like the Florida offense is obviously typical, and what Kyle Trask has done, and Kyle Pitts, and I mean it just seems like a lot of fun because they come through a lot of sets. I will tell you that the '69 team, because we had the coaching change and went more to a running type attack after my sophomore year. But that '69 team that had Fred Pankos was the offensive coordinator, really had a lot of sets and a lot of patterns that are not too dissimilar. I'm not saying that it equates to what it is now, because back then we always had a fullback, for example, and now a lot of times you don't have a fullback, and so you have you're spread out more. But I will say that it would be just a blast to play today with all the different sets and the options, and it would be great fun. It really would be great fun.
But we got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Larry. Larry says, I love the John Reeves to Alvarez connection. But Carlos, what is your best moment as a Gator?
That is such a difficult question, because and I'm sure the question was asked to you, you would say a lot of things would start running through your mind, because there's a lot of great things that happen, that happened during my career. The one that I know people remember the most, and certainly is ingrained in my heart, is that third play in the Houston game, the first pass I ever caught, the first pass that John ever threw, which went for a 70-yard touchdown against a team that was ranked by some people as the #1 team in the nation, the Houston Cougars, at Florida Field. So when that happens and you have the fans going absolutely crazy on Florida Field, never expecting that to happen, it is a moment that I will never forget. And then another moment, which is kind of a bookend moment, is my last game at Florida Field when we were playing Kentucky, and we were a little bit ahead. I think we may have been 5-6 points ahead in the fourth quarter, and a play was called in, and I just knew that we went deep, and John knew if I went deep, we would just kill him, because we had just been running short routes most of the game. And I looked at John, and he looked at me, and the play was called in, and John said, "The hell with it, go deep," and he called the play, and sure enough. And so it was a November day, and I was running down the east sidelines, going to the north end zone, and I will always remember it because the sun was in the background. John's pass was spiraling perfectly right into me and into my hands, running at full speed. And when I got into the end zone, I was so high. I mean, it was about a 50-yard touchdown. I was so high because he hit me just perfectly that I threw the ball into the stands. Now, I mean, I threw it as high as I possibly could into the stands. I had never done that. I had never gotten a penalty in all my years at Florida. That's the only penalty I ever got for celebration. And boy, the defensive coordinator at the time was not happy with me when I got to the sidelines, but I was in such a high that it didn't matter. John and I celebrated that moment. And of course, Lee McGriff remembered that, because he wasn't playing with us at the time, but he was going to play, and he was in the stands. And I don't know if you remember, but Travis McGriff did the same thing. And there was another, I think Caldwell also did the same thing when Urban Meyer was the coach. And actually I was in the field when he did it. And I told him I didn't talk him into it. I didn't even say anything about it. Just some people have known about that, which is your last game at Florida Field. If you're ahead and you're a wide receiver, you could do that. But it's probably something that I shouldn't spread too much, because some coach is going to really get very upset about it. But that was a very wonderful moment for me.
That's good stuff. Last thing, Coach Mullen's done a tremendous job here in his first 3 years. Obviously, this year, who knows what's going to happen. It's a crazy year for all of us. Just your quick thoughts on Coach Mullen as the head coach of Florida.
Love him. I just love Coach Mullen. I think he's a coach's coach. He's a player's coach. I'm sorry, and that means a lot to me. I think he really has the respect of his players, and they trust him that even when things go wrong, he'll straighten up the ship. So I like him. I obviously love his offensive schemes. That has been very exciting to watch. So I really like Coach Mullen. This year is such an unusual year, as we all know, that I think everybody just needs to relax. Whatever happens this year happens, but it's almost like a throwaway year. Let's enjoy it. It's totally enjoy it. And I mean throw away and give up on it. It's just that you cannot judge a coach by what happens this year. There's too many variables, including not even knowing who's going to be there on Saturday, because on Thursday, all of a sudden a key player is going to come out. And, I've always said that college football is roughly 1/3 coaching, 1/3 players, and 1/3 luck. And the luck is really the injuries or the 19-year-old having a bad day because not concentrating or not realizing that it's a 12-game season and getting tired after the third game and having their fourth game be a bad game. So I think I would put probably a little bit higher percentage on the coaching than a third, and a third, but that everybody's got to look at it that way. And I think that we're at Florida right now, we're on the coaching side, we're at full percentage of what we can get out of that coach, and we just have to be patient.
No doubt about it. So what time is the show airing tonight? Is it 7:30 or 8, 9?
8:30.
8:30. 8:30. It'll be the Cuban Comet. I can't wait to watch it. Get your popcorn and soda pops ready. Sit down on the couch and check it out. But Carlos, we really do appreciate you taking the time to join us, talking about your life, what we get to see in the documentary. Can't wait.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Shane, and thank you for having me. And go Gators.
Go Gators.